All right, here we go again. There it is. Good volume. Let's try to make those rough roads smoother. Well, you're going to, let's say it actually goes to fruition. Let's say in some weird way, everybody agrees. Obviously at this point, it would be weird because nobody's agreeing to any of it, except for like Netanyahu. And it's obvious that he needs Trump's support to stay above water. Right. And it could be a bluff or something else. I mean, that would make sense to me. Well, because that real estate's really not as valuable as they believe. I mean, it could tank in a day. I mean, it's waterfront. It'd be worth something. But right, and people that live in Israel in harm's way, I mean, maybe they want to live in further harm's way. I don't know. Now that would piss everybody off, and they would, to destroy the value of that property, they would attack it. And even if one gets through, again, the root causes of was it October 7th, Frank? So again, that's one of the root causes, that kind of thing. And whether you agree with it or not, I'm not asking you to agree with it. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just stating facts. I'm the keeper of the reality of true history. Right. We pulled out of Lebanon. It wasn't safe. It wasn't safe for our people there. We become a target when we move into that area. That's why we don't put ground troops in there. And that's what you're going to do, I guess. I mean, you're going to need to. Or is IDF going to protect you? It's just not. It's not as valuable a property as you think it is. And yeah, in history, a lot of IDF operations were successful against the PLO beach assaults, but that's a weak area. They're attracted to that coast and the beach to do that stuff, right? Or were, at least. Now, all it takes is one October 7th at whatever level, right? And that property then is tainted, and people will move away and won't want to purchase it. Right. I mean, you're talking about moving them out of the Gaza completely. That's only going to attract terrorism in the Gaza. I mean, they'll zip by in a boat and launch a rocket, or rockets. I mean, that waterfront property is probably the worst waterfront property in the world, just about, when it comes to attraction of terrorism. And if you move the Palestinians out, it's going to even be bigger attraction. I mean, they don't care. You kill them, fine. They don't care. They'll just keep sending people to die until they get through. Right. But I mean, go with your plan. I mean, wouldn't you hate to spend all them years fixing it up, all the bigs that we know. Elon buys beachfront property in the Gaza, and then they attack it with terrorism. Back to square one. That's why we pulled out. Because you get forward and then you go back to square one. We lost a lot of people over in Lebanon. Right. So again, it looks attractive, but I don't know when the next terrorist attack would be after you build it up, but it would be coming. Right. So again, it just could be a bluff, because he's going to propose something else. Right. I mean, I don't know. It seems wacky. Well, first off, you're going to use U.S. dollars taxpayers are gonna have an issue with it. Right? They'll sue you, and then the judges will go, "What are you building Trump towers over there?" What, I mean, so again, it's not going to look good in the news once the judges get hold of it. Right. Right, Larry. But again, it could just be some bullshit. I mean, Trump's like that. That's why I was sitting there. I'm like, what's he doing? Okay, you might propose something else, and because they don't want that to happen, they'll go, okay. But no, that's not property we want. I mean, the only people who want that property are people that want to die more than they died on October 6th or 7th. Or wait, yeah, 7. get J6 and 10-7 all confused. I got to call it 10-7. It'll be easier. Right? Or 07. Thank you, Larry. I don't know if these shoes are perfect, but they're better than the other ones. I just got to get some massages on my legs. That was a big part of this, was to keep my legs massaged. That's what this one woman in Arizona, she was massaging my legs. Thank you, Larry. And she found areas that I didn't even know existed. They were painful to massage, but she got my legs real softened and everything, and that's when my health really came back. Right. And then they blocked it. It's disruption technology, but I mean, it's CIA level operation no matter who's doing it. Again, they'll have everyday people do it. Again, it's the indigenous forces. It's the same model they use overseas. Correct. But they're using it here, and I think it's CIA, because why would CIA let it happen? Why would any of these people let it happen if they weren't affiliated with it? And again, quite frankly, people are paranoid about their past history, and what this thing does is it puts them into something they're paranoid about, and then it says, "I'll protect you from it." So it's a setup. Like, the reality is, the only reason Trump and these other people, like, it's really a non-starter, the whole Epstein thing. It's only certain people that actually did anything. Right? It's probably a very minimal number. Right. I mean, they may have had sex with adult women, younger adult women, but anybody, like the pedophile thing, is probably not all that big. But what it does is they use it, like the Hood Barak. He didn't say a freaking thing since they brought up him and Epstein. Right. Thank you, Larry. It doesn't matter what happened. He just doesn't want that out there. Right? He saw what happened to Prince Andrew. Right. Thank you, Larry. And he might have. I mean, I don't know, but when these girls, and I'm not saying that it's nothing, but they get millions and millions of dollars. Many of us had this happen to us. We got nothing. Right? Not even in consideration. Like, for me, they attacked me with the deep state, trying to insinuate I was like that. Well, they tried to force me to it by torturing me. So they're like, there's like the stars of the Me Too, and everybody else gets nothing. Right? In fact, we get attacked. That's where the beginning of it may have come from, because they get paranoid, right? And they buy in. So what they do is they try to make their victim out to be who they really are. And again, I've proven that over and over again with the later attacks. Right. So that's not really as value of real estate as it appears. It's just not really. It's been safe because the Palestinians are there. If you take it back over, it's not that safe, and that'll be one of their focuses, to take you out there. I agree there. The "I agree" was actually an I, that wasn't a person. So I'm not sure how that one worked. Now listen, I'm a spirit medium. So it's a false appearance that it's safe. It's safe now because the Palestinians own it. As soon as Israel or U.S. owns it, they'll kill it. Right. And I just like so weird. I mean, I just think it's weird. Trump does some of the weirdest stuff sometimes. Oh, it'll be U.S. will own it. Oh, okay, yeah, we will. Yeah, that's the ticket. But I don't know if he's bluffing. Because Netanyahu's response was just kind of, oh, yeah, I think it'd be interesting. Right. But really, that as soon as you change ownership of that property, it will no longer be peaceful. It'll be more of an attraction than October 7th. Right. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, friend. So what you do is anything that you don't see as an immediate project, you still put it, that I'm suggesting, put it somewhere so you can put it in, maybe get it later or even rule it out. But again, there's scenarios for each one where it would be imminently needed. Right? But the one thing about the joint security area, that's definitely something we need. You don't want issues with friendly fire. And then the more you work with Mexican federales, the more they'll see you human and want to protect your country. I mean, face it, Americans don't see Mexicans human. Thank you, sir. So it's important to try to get that kind of stuff forward when we can. But that property is definitely not as valuable as it appears, right? Especially if you put the Palestinians out and Israel or U.S. takes it over. Well, it's weird. I'm wearing these shoes and the right side of my body is starting to relax, which is kind of weird because, again, my shoulder gets loose. I have to stop it from getting tight and loose and tight and loose, right? Because what happens is when it tightens up, it stretches a lot of the tissue. And then when it loosens up, it's too loose and has to tighten up again over time. It would do that, right? So I don't know. It definitely, I didn't try to stretch that side of my body and it's loosening up. So the shoes are definitely better than my other shoes. And I grabbed one of my inserts and put them in, my kind of firm inserts. But what I really have to do, I think, and I don't think this part is coming from my back. I think it's the other way around. That's what I told the doctors. And they just don't believe shit. Well, I had an ankle injury years ago. I sprained my ankle while I was going to Penco Tech. I was working, my buddy and I were working on a Chevelle, right? And I think he had gutted it and everything. He was, redoing the whole thing, right? And I stepped the wrong way and I sprained my ankle. And it was pretty bad for a few days, but I think I even went to emergency room. I said, just sprained your ankle. But I think, when you get older, those injuries sometimes creep up. Right? So I think that tissue just needs to be massaged a whole bunch. Right? Thank you, Larry. I was like, really young. Even before that shit happened. Yeah, but I was asleep. If I was awake, I'd have figured it all out. Nothing would have stopped me. I wouldn't even have been in Penco Tech. Right? I may have been in Hollywood by then. Who knows? That's a way to get a good start. I definitely would have got a law degree. I don't know what I used it for, but I would have got it. I've been one of those guys who went to school for 15 years. Once I had a woman with me, I'd be happy. Thank you, Larry. Now, Hashem was speaking about it. He goes, it was like a few years after I got out in his March service, and Hashem said, you really should get a law degree, but we can't do it. We can't do it. Not going to work. Right? There'll just be too much in the middle of it. Right? Because they don't care. They pay people enough money where they just lie. Like something doesn't even happen, and they say it does. Right. Got a good deal on Amazon today with ramen noodles. It's a miso soup mix. Miso soup. Don't keep it at the regular strength, so it's not real salty, but it has flavor to it. It's like this brick, the small brick of miso soup. You put it in the water and it melts, and goes in, but it has green onion in it, like real. It looks at big, like there's these little packets of flakes and stuff you put in soup, but this is actually like 2 real cubes of tofu, real green onion slices, So it looks neat. It has good flavor because I dilute it with extra water. Right, I don't like their soups full strength. It's too much salt. I've been actually eating a lot of salt. I got to drop it back. Right. So yeah, they definitely blocked me from these shoes. I may have actually been healthier if I had these. Right. I think when I moved, I was using these shoes. I was really, the most healthy I was. But yeah, they've attacked me. That part happened. They most likely drugged me also. So again, it's a combination of things. Right. No, because my whole body went stiff. It wasn't just like my back. It was bizarre. Right. So yeah, I'm just going to say it again. That property is not as valuable as it appears. It appears valuable. Well, again, all it takes is one of those attacks to get through. So you can block 1 billion of them, and they'll blanch 1,000,000,001, and the 1,000,000,001 will get through. Right? Just not worth it. Again, a lot of people moved out of Israel because of all that. They're sitting in New York, and they're whatever property they had, they've just nearly abandoned it. Right? The real reality is, most likely, if I'd have got to Tel Aviv, it would have worked. But if I'd have got to Tel Aviv, the energy would have been different. And then, Olmert or somebody like Olmert would have got through and changed the future. Again, essentially, that's what Olmert was trying to do, change the future. So he wouldn't have 07 or 10-7. Right? It's kind of like, it's really like the, I suppose that before, it's like the Terminator movie. Right? The evil's trying to kill the good people who will be somebody and are somebody. And the good people are trying to keep everybody alive and change the future, so it doesn't happen. Right. Well, because I obviously had the vision that something would happen. I don't even know what I was thinking when I posted that. The future of the world depends on you. You have to have the peace process. Hindsight being 2020, I wouldn't have probably said Olmert, and that Yahoo seemed like he was going in the right direction, and then he got charged, and then he went in the other direction. See, they mess with people's heads, and then they do the wrong thing. Right. Because I remember him yelling at the settlers that they can't do that. Right. That they got to stay away from those territories. Right. But again, leaving Hamas in there, I was against that. I wanted you to take the Palestinian Authority, formerly Fatah, and wax ass. Right. I mean, the Palestinians in the Gaza wouldn't have cared all that much. I mean, they would have objected, but Right? Again, you let them bring. I couldn't understand. I'm like, why are you letting them bring the rockets in? I guys looked at they said this whole tunnel thing is very easily overcome. Why do you let them bring things through the tunnels? Right. Well, because it got out of control, all of it, and that's why that happened. Right. I would definitely build a heliport, helipad, military base as close to the U.S. Capitol as you can. And I would use, if you're getting rid of the Department of Education, I would use that property to either build it with, I think it's too close to the Smithsonian, or move somebody into that property and use their property. So start looking around D.C. and see if you want to move somebody, right? Because you'll have it closer in. Right? That'll make sense. And then that'll be extension of all the aviation units that have a certain mission. I don't know the number. I don't know what size you need. Again, I'm going to look at the aircraft carriers, the helicopter carriers, and amphibious assault ships that have that, mainly the helicopters. See their size and then compare it with a city block in D.C. And see how many helicopters we can fit. Again, we don't want it to be too crazy. We don't want to have some sort of accident, Right. But no matter what, having, even 6 helicopters, let's say, is better than what we have right now. Right. Maybe we just kick the Marshal Service out. And actually, they're part of their buildings. But actually, I don't know if they're still at the same place. But it's near the Pentagon, isn't it? I think. But like I said, there's a multitude of things they could have done. Again, people think small, and Hashem showed me not to think small. And I don't know if I thought all that small in the Marshal Service and stuff. Again, part of my life, where I end up, Gander, ended up to the 101st. Like, so it started building. You end up in the 101st, which, like, I was the only one that went to 101st out of my unit. Right. And then the next thing you know, the use of maps thing. Right. I was in this mine with a couple generals today. Like, you'd have been a general if you went to West Point. I would have went to the military academy. I was great in school, but I just needed to get to that military thing and then go back to school, right? And then I'd have been fine. So I'd eventually went from the 101st to the U.S. military. I think I came back from Desert Storm, or not Desert Storm, from Sinai, and I said, "Where's my U.S. military academy prep school?" I think, we lost it. Or I may have said it, look for it before I left. I can't remember when it was. Oh, we lost your package. We don't have it. Somebody had them trash it. Right. So I'd actually been on my way to West Point. And that was actually the goal. Like, I was asleep and I didn't know what was happening. If I was awake, I could figure it out. Like, when I was a kid, I was personally studying my parents were worthless. How to get to West Point, or the Annapolis. Right. The senator this, the senator that. So it actually started unfolding once I got in the military, and then the deep state trashed it. I went to prep school. I did great. I've been probably almost the top of my class, if not the top of my class. Right. Probably same thing in West Point. A couple of generals in mine said, "Yeah, you'd have been a general. if you'd have got to West Point, you'd have been a general." So that shows you how these chump change pieces of shit change the future. Right. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, sir. And then I end up, 101st, and then sapper, like one of the first sapper leaders Like when we went, it wasn't shit, you know. It was like, yeah, whatever, we'll go. Nobody was like, because our CO, because he went as a whole unit, like just the whole units and COs in the beginning, because they're just trying to get everybody through as quick as possible, right? Build up the numbers, right? So you go and our commanding officer, the captain, was a ranger, so we were already kind of tuned up a bit, right? And I just came back, you know, actually not just, but year prior I was in actually 6 months prior, I guess, or 7 months prior. I came back from the signing. I ran for 6 months straight. I do like infantry PD, infantry physical training with the task force, right? And then then I didn't at night when I was, and then I work all day in the desert with these construction projects, and then I'd go. They had good food there. You could eat good and stay healthy, right? God bless the Egyptian people that worked in our cafeteria in the mess hall. Man, it was great. They just really kept us well. I was so sad when they took a CS grenade into the cafeteria when they were drunk one night. I'm like, ah. I think they left the AHA unlocked even, like after they took it. It's like a bunch of supply guys or some shit. But I would run. So in the evening, in the sun, I would go running in the desert along the perimeter of South Camp. And I didn't know people were noticing me. Like the sergeant major loved me, you know. I didn't know he was noticing. That's probably why he died, because he liked me. They killed him on a plane crash. I didn't know, but I didn't know my platoon sergeant was a Vietnam vet because he didn't wear the patch. I don't know. It was strange. Thank you, Barry. He was from Guam. I didn't know till years later. Like maybe 10 years ago or something. Sergeant Artia. So the Gander crashed, then the Sapper leader, and then I got out, right? Because I was like, I don't want to be like these other people that, you know, say I should have got out. I'm going to try it, you know. Right. Thank you, Larry. And it just didn't make any sense. I tried going to the Coast Guard. It's like I was blocked from that. I couldn't get to it. They were like, we're not taking anybody from any other prior service. I was like, yeah. And you see where I was going, right? Coast Guard interdiction, right? So again, I didn't think of it, but that's probably where I was going. Because I think I was wanting to be like SWIC. I think I was looking. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think I was going to be SWIC. I was looking to be something like SWIC, but in the Coast Guard, right? And I was struggling with going in the Marines. I'm like, I don't know if I really feel like just doing boot camp, you know, again, you know, I'm like, eh. So I was looking in the Marine Corps, read a couple Marine books, trying to get in the mode, right? And then I just decided, I don't remember how it all came down, but I was like, I'll just go back in the Army, and went down to the MEPS, and they said Korea. I said, cool. It was actually a good experience. And then I met Sergeant Grant was there. That was a trip. I was in Sergeant Grant's platoon. They put me straight up to 3rd Brigade, you know. I was like a 3rd Brigade every assignment. And then usually 3rd Brigade, for some reason, 3rd Brigade is the best brigade, I think, you know. And the platoon that supports 3rd Brigade in the engineer companies I'm in was the best company, was the best platoon generally, right? Maybe it's because I was there. So yeah, we did infantry PT the whole time we were at, you know, that place. I mean, I don't know if we did all that much, but generally it was infantry PD. But I would, at the night, I would just, in the evening, that night, it was still kind of light out. I'd start going running. I think it was like 6 miles or something. After a day of work and PT in the morning. So I got in great shape, man. I just can't even believe that like I could run like I could run. Like how am I still alive? How does my body deal? Like I was fast, but it was like long distance fast. I was always good at intervals, Interval training was my secret before everybody else did. I think they stole it from me inside somehow. I probably told the world. Right. I actually, my interval training was great. I design a training and then it's in a magazine somewhere. I'm like, what? How to get there? Probably inside. But I used to run with the road guards as a non-commissioned officer, and I'd race these like young guys to the front and all that, and to the road. And you'd be running like long distance, and you'd be just interval training the whole time with the road guards. Definitely needed that antibiotic. There's no doubt at this point. I probably had a sinus infection the whole time, even from before COVID, for like a month and a half or some shit. Again, when they're focusing on you and cursing you, your mind sometimes doesn't see where you need to go. It's a whole different life. Right? Essentially stalking. They're stalkers. The sicko stalkers. I still have like congestion and all that kind of, but not this crazy drip thing with just constantly. So it's already gotten better. So that's nice. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, that property is definitely not worth it. It really isn't. Because it'll change the whole. Like if the United States or Israel takes it over, it changes the whole paradigm of what it's been. Right? It becomes, the October 7th, right? Or the focus of an October 7th type attack, which then makes it really not valuable property, unless some Israelis don't care. I don't know. It doesn't seem like you're all seeking any type of peace or protection. It may be because you're. It could. I've seen the police there, so it could be deep state, right? Israel might be deep state. Yeah, I know you all don't consider, people that are affiliated with you deep state, but I analyze it a certain way. Everything across the board the same way, right? Which means that people aren't free to speak. They aren't free to actually seek peace. You have to seek whatever the government says to seek, or they become nobody or get harassed, that kind of thing, right? The weird part is I think all the agents' cases right now are going to end up in front of Washington, D.C. judges. And they're the ones that did the J6 prosecutions. Or at least the same bench. Should just pick your battles, you know what I mean? I wish you'd have done that. Well, because we got a slew of immigration battles coming up, I'm sure of it. Right. The court battles, that is. And there's probably locations on the border. Somebody's in my head. It must be a Mexican federale or be border patrol guy. But there's locations in the border where Mexico can see into our country. Like they can do an overwatch from the other country, is what I'm understanding. Like we have some border locations where we can see into Mexico better than the federales that are patrolling, right? From certain, I don't know, an elevated section. So we could actually do an overwatch for Mexico while they're conducting a patrol. Vice versa, in some locations, they could do an overwatch for us while we're conducting a patrol. So that's another, operation we can engage in together to build unit cohesion. Right. Or maybe I'm in their head, looking through their eyes. I see something. Thank you. Well, we want to normalize relations. We haven't had normalized relations with the way we should, to keep the peace, for a while. Right. Thank you, sir. Again, I'm hoping, in the near future, we can work the peace out in Europe, Ukraine and Russia, and then maybe at some point, there could be some reconciliation back and forth. And right. Sad that I was so sad when they killed Sadat. That was horrible. Right. Such a good man, really. Right. Thank you. So, like the media was there when we were in South Camp after the plane went down. We're like in the middle of nowhere, I mean, Sharm where our general location. So they're out at our front gate, and we had to do we had to finish one of our projects real quick, I guess. I don't know what I was doing there. Doing something at the front gate. I know it was our project. We were building a parking area for the Egyptian workers. I think that's what it was. I think that's what we were building. I'm not sure, but I think that's what we were doing. And, we had like cleaned it up or something before we left. Right. And all the media was there trying to shout questions at us. I was like, yeah, get away. Yeah. Yeah. So I hated the media before you all hated the media. I felt it was so disrespectful, right. So but when we went to leave, just to show you a contrast, we went to leave, and I speak about this guy. He was like the big boss. I don't know if because the police in Egypt sometimes look like military, so I can't remember whether he was military or police. I think it was police. Right? And he was the big boss, and he couldn't speak English that good, but boy, he tried. I was so touched because he just tried. It was heartfelt what he said, and his English was like so whack, and everyone's like, yeah. Like cheered him on when it was finished and clapping. But I'm like, what did he say? But I could tell he really cared. Really appreciated that we were there, and he realized that people died, and just really he was affected by it, right? Well, because in decades prior, years prior, there was war, right? And there was a lot more war and a lot more terrorism. And again, while I was over, some of the bad stuff happened. The cops shot that family, right? And then then the colonel had to go get the bodies with the helicopters, right? And he just walked in and said, "Give me the bodies." They gave it to him, and he flew off. Well, he had a squad of grunts with him that were, they were armed to the teeth. Right? I think it was the scouts, and they were some big guys. The scouts had the one up by the water in Israel, and they were always under fire from boats. PLO boats would light them up, and they just go into the bunker and stay down. Right? They're I don't know if he's a platoon leader or one of his squad leaders. He was in the French Foreign Legion. Right? He came under fire. I was sitting on his briefing because I happened to be making coffee in the battalion headquarters. So military intelligence, the civil affairs guy was debriefing him, and that wasn't the only time it happened. Because I think he said it was kind of regular. But this was I don't know why this particular one was so important. I forget what it was exactly. But it was a boat with a heavy machine gun. Started lighting up the OP. And I think the OP is next to the Israeli people. I forget how it was. I saw not a diagram, but he explained it. And it was, I think it's the OP, and then the Egyptians, and then over here is Israelis. They may have been trying to hit the Israelis. I think that was part of it. Right. Again, that Jewish guy in the wheelchair was pushed off that cruise ship. That was like the end, and then we took off. After that, we had to actually be locked and loaded all the time when we were off post. Right after that ship thing, because I think Israel was starting to attack certain places in retaliation. Right. But we had a great party. I couldn't even. We had so much food. We were just giving it to everybody. There was ribs and burgers, and they ordered way too much. There was a British engineer major that was the highest ranking engineer, I think, on South Camp. He may have been stationed at North Camp. I can't remember. Maybe the highest ranking engineer in country. Right. And he was there for a short time during that day, but we had so much food. It was just amazing. Right. I mean, even every day, it was just because I was a meat eater back then, but I was big on protein, so I'd be eating boiled eggs. And when you go in there in the morning, you get crab legs, lobster, steak. It's amazing. Fresh mangoes. So I don't think I would eat lunch. I'd go back to the room and I had boiled eggs or something. Well, I wouldn't eat dinner. That's what it was. I wouldn't eat dinner because I was running. I think that's what I did. All I know is I had boiled eggs for something, one meal. It may have been lunch too, because it was a desert. If you eat too much, you're no good the whole afternoon. I eat bacon, It's just crazy, all the food they had. I appreciate it. And Egyptians cooked it. I appreciate it. I get some military guys, but not too many. I remember walking past one Friday night, the cafeteria, and they're going crazy because they had just been CS'd. But the guys that did it, I think they said they didn't lock the AHA, which is this ammo storage area, where they got it from. They just got all drunk, went in there, grabbed CS grenades, and threw it in the cafeteria. But I mean, they did a whole bunch of cooking. those Egyptian guys. There was always just a mounds of food. Right. I mean, and then Thanksgiving was just, I mean, that was gluttony. Thanksgiving was gluttony over in Egypt and the Sinai. I mean, they just had like, they would have, I mean, it was just you like you were in like you were the king of Saudi Arabia or something. They would take like fresh nuts and like walnuts and all this stuff, and they just like a mountain of it. The king of Siam or something. They had no right to what they did to my life. I'll tell you that. Right. Yeah, I appreciated the U.S. military because they sent military aircraft. After you fly Aero Air, you will appreciate any military flight. It's actually a military airplane. No, I felt like that was the biggest ripoff in my military because I flew it on it, and it could be the same plane that crashed. I don't know. I mean, I felt like I was ripped off the fly on that thing, right? Even before the crash, because we had a layover. We had to stay in Bonn, not a layover. We had to stay in Bonn, Germany, because as soon as we land in Bonn, Germany, that's our. I guess we went from Fort Campbell. Did we land? Maybe we did. We may have stopped somewhere in the U.S., like New York or something. I can't remember. But from continental U.S., we stop in Bonn, Germany, and just as we land, you can smell something flame up, and you're like, oh. And we're lucky we're on the ground, right? So they said they couldn't find anything. That's the worst part, right? We couldn't find anything. Okay, so we're gonna go back up there. At least if they would have found something, oh, this happened and we fixed it. So they spend like a few hours and they go, whoa, we couldn't find anything, so we're going to fly. I'm lucky. I really am. Right. Just actually, lived that kind of stuff because air was definitely not up to standard at all. I think Ubers are cleaner than Arrow Air. Right. They were just dirty, man. They were just dirty, nasty planes. Right. But I think it was CIA airplanes anyway. One of my neighbors was actually one of those people that was on that was a flight attendant or something on one of those types of planes. Back when, husband treated her shitty. He was getting divorced. I think he was deep state. Right. So I get to Camp Giant in Korea and they make me the guy that has to blow up the bridge. Or actually, the guy that has to. I'm not the guy because the people that blow up the bridge they could live, but they probably won't because it was so much explosives. But they need the guy that has to take the wire and connect it to the charge. So I have to climb down the bridge and then connect it to the charge if it was real. All right, it's a dead man's mission. Guess that was my mission. I was on that for about 3-4 months. I think when I moved to headquarters at the end, they were like, gave it to someone else. Right. I was a key. I was the. But there was other things. There was like an air sortie and other things that would have taken it out. So it didn't matter, I guess, completely. But right, if we couldn't take it out, there were other things. And I guess RC4 what? No, RC4 was the aviation thing, anti-aircraft. Right. It was there was an artillery. There's like up by the DMZ. There's an artillery unit, and North Koreans know that, and they practice on this island, and they're zeroed in. They practice, like you can hear them always practicing zeroing in on their guns on that island. I think it's like there's a requirement. I don't know if there's any more because now everything's different. But they were required to test the I guess the sighting mechanism, whatever it is, on their artillery pieces very regularly. Right. So I was dead anyway. I was dead. I mean, I think all these things hit the bridge at once, and nobody lives that's on the bridge, you know. Our LT was turning on. We had to go out to the field, so the LT turned that mission over to some infantry guys, and he goes, "I don't think they got it." He said, "You know, they don't get it. Like, you die. That's where you die. You don't live through that." So I don't know where we're going. I know we did a platoon train up for something. We were in the middle of a platoon train up, and the siren went off. We were actually in the field, but we were close by. I don't remember what we were doing. So we had to hop. I remember hopping in a dump truck, and we're zipping to this to the bridge. And we get to the bridge. The weirdest thing in the world. We get to the bridge, and they're freaking Koreans on the bridge, and they were never there before. It was manned by Americans, and it was Korean. So we're like, what's happening? It was South Koreans, it wasn't North Koreans, but you know, we didn't expect to see Koreans on the bridge in uniform, you know. Like, who are these people? No, I had one of those oh shit moments, you know, when we pulled up. Thank you, Larry. But I think it was in the middle of the changeover. I think we eventually gave it to him completely. Like, we didn't do that anymore. Somebody else. It's their responsibility to blow up the bridge. Right. Target Alpha. That's what it was called. I was the dead man on Target Alpha. Like 3-4 months. Actually, maybe it was longer than that. No, it was actually longer than that because I was there a year. I was thinking about the Sinai tour. I was probably on that at least 6 to 8 months. Right. Well, as a sapper leader, they gave it to me like instantly. They put me in the squad that had the responsibility or something. Like, it was Sergeant. What was that guy's name? Spanish guy. Sergeant Ortiz, I think it was. He was an all right guy. He was pretty cool. But I just spent like 6 months, you know, I ran and all that and kept in shape. But I spent like 6 months, I don't know, 6 months or a little bit longer. I can't remember how long it was as a civilian, you know. I actually spent a lot of time walking. I had a weight set I bought, right? Like the whole thing with the lap pull down and everything. And I was going to GNC all the time. So I stayed pretty fit. And then I got to Fort Leonard Wood and had to wait for them to, you know, tell me to go. So I was like kind of a cadre guy at at the reception station in Fort Leonard Wood watching the people that, didn't quite make it. Had a couple of suicide attempts. At Fort Leonard, I was at Fort Leonard Wood waiting for my orders, I guess. I don't know. Some guy was trying to tie these sheets together. He had like a ton of sheets. He's tied them all together. It's on the second floor of a World War II barracks. He like got tied to the cot or bed, So took him away. Then it was horrible. My mother bailed me out though. I didn't have any money, I think, and I was supposed to fly to Korea. They freaking, and I was tired because I was doing a lot of stuff there for them. It wasn't just that like CQ thing. They put me on CQ all the time to watch the people, and I was just so tired. I remember being so tired. We pulled in LAX, and it wasn't supposed to have. I don't think I was supposed to have that layover, or at least they didn't explain it to me that way. And I had like a freaking it was like 6 in the evening, and my flight flew out like 9 or something, and I'm supposed to sit at LAX. I think somebody told me you could actually go to the USO and get a room after like years later or something, right? But I went to I called my mother and I don't remember how this worked, but I took a taxi. I think she found a hotel or something near there. I think it's how it works. She looked in the yellow pages. I don't know. I mean, we'd have computers, But she said, I got you a hotel, and what did I call? Must have called her on a payphone, I guess. And we went to. And I got this this little hotel or whatever, and came back in the morning. I was on my way to Korea. And got to the turtle farm. They call it the turtle farm because one side, I think one side of the reception area, the reception station, not reception station, replacement center, where you come in country, I guess they call it. I don't remember what they call those things. But one side is receiving. When you leave, you're on the other side of a big open compound, like there's billets, barracks there. And it's not real big, at least wasn't back then. But because it takes a whole year to go from the one side of the compound to the other side of the compound, they call it, because you're a turtle. They call it the turtle farm. Because most people only spend a year on the DMZ. It was considered a hardship tour. There were actually combat patches off of that, prior to us, like in the 70s. Right? They were given combat patches from the DMZ. Right. We weren't quite on the DMZ. That's because of the mission we had. We're just short of it. I mean, it locks up. Korea locks up, and when it's wartime, it locks up. I mean, the rock drops. They got rocks that drop into the roadways. Yeah, you can't do it by driving or foot. It's just real difficult, right? And those units are hardcore. They beat each other up. I don't know if they do it still, but they beat each other up all day. So we had the Katusas who live they're usually from like good families, They get like a cush duty where they serve with a U.S. unit instead of a Korean unit, and they don't get beat up like that. So somehow this ROC non-commissioned officer came to visit. He needed something. And we had a Katusa there, he was like the head Katusa or something. And he's like, I think he hit him a couple of times. Every time he fall to the ground, he had to stand up. Because when the Katusa goes through basic training, they go through the ROC Army basic training, so he knows the deal, right? What he's supposed to do when the guy hits him. So he keeps knocking on the ground, and then I didn't see it. My friend saw it, and then he said the Katusa, like they have words, and the Katusa disappears, and the rock guy goes on. So he looks out. He was the guy who was a company cloaker before me, I think. So he looks outside, and he sees the Katusa sitting there with his bags packed. His guys packed, just sitting there at attention in front of our company headquarters. And he asked him what he was doing. He says, "I'm leaving. I have to go." And he said, "What are you talking about?" So apparently the non-commissioned officer told him, "Get your bags packed, get down here. You're going to leave here." And I guess he'd bring him to his unit, but they never came back for him. Thank you, Larry. But I guess the Tiger unit's up there. I think it's up there. No, I'm exercising exactly what I'm doing. I'm walking back and forth in my new shoes. Trying to see if I can soften my leg a little bit. That's kind of weird, because, the last 4 or 5 years have been a blur. Right? They've been attacking me all the way through. Even blocking me from moving in to apartments. And they'll say they're not blocking. If you weren't a criminal, it wouldn't affect. That's bullshit. Right. But yeah, they deprived my housing and everything. They interfered with my housing. Again, Biden's part of it, so what do they care? Right. 100% there. Yeah, Biden's deep state. Been in his whole life, probably. Because he's like a geek. When it comes to he's not really a quality person. Right. So he's just like a deep state geek. Right. And they like oppressing people. They get off on it. He's one of the few people that actually spoke about it publicly. Again, you're making the Biden mistakes, all of you. Biden spoke about, extorting somebody. Right. Correct. And you're all starting to do things publicly. Like, I don't get it. All right. Do this here. It just would have been such a nice life if I was married. Right. It just found a woman, got married, we'd have fun the rest of our lives. Right. Because I was awake at this point. So and they knew it. I knew how to better maneuver through a relationship even when they're killing us, Right. They spent government money on that stuff. God destroyed a lot of this country because of that, and a lot of our effort. That's really what's doing it all. You're spending government money on killing me and whoever else. God can't bless anything you all do. Yeah, you're rich, some of you, but again, you don't know what you're. Again, when you get to hell, you'll see what your lives could have been had you not done that, and you'll be just absolutely amazed. Right. Probably you're in hell, so it's not going to be a good experience, but. Like what you thought you had to do to be wealthy or have a good life, you didn't have to do because it would have been better if you would have just destroyed that system and lived honestly, and let everybody else live, right? But we were like in the boonies I mean, it was like near the city, Moonsom, but it was still like it's like Hickville. It's like Korea Hickville. Right. I felt horrible. One of the worst things happened to me. There was this little dog, and I would run. You know, I wasn't a long run. You know, I think I woke up. I was kind of tired. I remember I got up, ran a couple kilometers, a few, not a couple, but probably a couple miles to a few miles, just something to stretch my legs. And there was this little dog, and it ran with me and didn't have a single problem with the run. But when we got back, it started, like the next day, it started shaking, and so it must have picked up a bug. It couldn't have been from the run itself. Right. Dog was all happy we were running, and just a really small dog, but it ran with me the whole way. And it was my landlord's dog. I felt so bad. I never had anything like that happen. Right. And it was like a great dog. I mean, it was a little toy-sized dog, but I mean, it's just keeping up with me and stopping, sniffing, and running with me. Right. It was all happy. And the next day it died. I was like, or like within 2 days it died. So it was, it's probably that one thing. It's one thing that dogs catch and they die real quick. I forget what it's called. It's real common. Right? And in Korea, it could be anything. Right? I didn't even realize how risky it was to stay in the field. Right? Like I had this thing with my throat, and I was sick, and I remember my throat was burning so bad, and I think I was simulating blowing up a bridge or something. That was something. No, that was the RTEP. I think I did it there too. I think that was one of because again, it's an RTEP thing, right? It's a training exercise thing, testing and training, right? And they were like, right. And I just pushed myself through it, right? I think a medic was with us. One of the medics was with us, I think. I remember the medic was out there, and he was, his job was to keep everybody in the field. It was actually probably illegal. I mean, it had been raining and all that shit. It was so nasty. Oh, I think it was the one, maybe in that same exercise. Had to walk. It was raining, and we were that was a different exercise, I think. Let me think. I can't remember if it was one, but I remember we were in a rice paddy. We had to patrol through this rice paddy. And it had been raining. I mean, it was so slick. It was horrible. I don't remember what our mission was, but I remember we pulled up. We had to walk somewhere and do something. So we get back to the dump truck, and everybody just went, just crashed, and you're like gone. And so cold. We had I think we pulled our sleeping bags out or something. It was so horrible. But I mean, we were all wet from that, muddy and it was so slippery. It was weird because my life's weird. If I was awake, I'd have known the figure thing a little bit more. There's this guy, Otero. I shouldn't have said his name, but he got in trouble. So towards the end at Fort Campbell, right, because I was short, they said, can you just go do some KP, for a while? And I said, sure. And I went over and did some KP, right, at the, it was like a task force place. It wasn't like our company. It was like, I think it was the infantry unit, right? It was, or whoever was supporting the food thing. And I went over there, and this guy, Otero, he introduced himself. Who's in our pack unit. That's it. He was in our pack. He was like he was a 12B, but he was in the office doing the office work. Right? So he disappears he disappears, and this woman, and this young woman disappears, who's one of the cooks or something. And it went to the point where they had the alert and everything, because they were missing in the field, and he comes. They both come back together. It was like they were like, she was like cherry red, So he went out and had sex or something. He was a good-looking guy, right? I think he's Puerto Rican, and he. So I don't think they disciplined him or anything. So I get out of the Army for that period of time. I go over to Korea, and he's in my squad. It was weird, But yeah, if I'd have been awake, I'd had more ability to read and understand. But it was pretty funny. He was on that mission, right? In the rice paddy. So he wasn't in pack. He was in 3rd Platoon, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division. Hardcore. What was the FBI saying? This might be the moment that I kill myself because I'm reminiscing. This is the kind of stuff they read. The wacko squads. It's the kind of bullshit they tell people all day just so they get to do what they do. Like torture me, you know? What was that guy's name? I'm trying to remember him. The guy who went to ATF that was in the Marshal Service in D.C. and he was like a comedian. He was a court security guy. I used to help him with stuff. But I was on Ken Starr with him. Oh, I can't remember that guy. I remembered it like right after I got out, and then I forgot it. I couldn't remember it. But he went to ATF. Yeah, if I had put my career on hold and went to Afghanistan, it would have probably worked. I'd have been, based upon seeing where everybody was later on, I would like where Bucksbaum was, right, and where the other guy was. They'd have put me somewhere, and then they probably got my special ops stuff finished, right. But that as soon as I told working, the problem is they read listening. There was no doubt that they were eavesdropping. Right? They still probably eavesdrop me whenever they can. Right? But I told working, I'm thinking of going. I know working wouldn't snitch or say, at least give them information they use against me. I told work, maybe he did. I don't know. Goose said that something was going on. Right? But I said, I think I'm gonna go to Afghanistan. I just put my career on hold because it just didn't make sense to stay. So I'm like, I was already been to Iraq. I think I'm going to go to Afghanistan. Right. But I didn't really if I didn't known who was over there, I'd been hooked or who people were, right? How they had moved up to it. Yeah. Bucksbaum and I were we're the same kind of guy, but Bucksbaum was an E6 and I was a corporal. Right. Bucksbaum ended up getting the Pathfinder tab. He's one of the few, or Pathfinder badge. He's one of the few engineers that got that. I mean, that's real rare for an engineer. But once we got the SAP leader, they got a slot and they sent him. Because it was part of they had envisioned the unconventional warfare that we needed a Pathfinder because of something, in our mission in the future. Right. I probably was short-lived because I don't think anybody else got Pathfinder, or very few. Right. He ended up becoming a sergeant major of the Corps Engineers. It's surprising that he died so soon. Right. Got out, went over to, I guess, Iraq as a contractor, and just was expired in his tent. Right. How was that, Larry? No, it's like a prisoner of war camp. They put me in a prisoner of war camp, and that's real, but it's an open community. And they use money to, pay people off and all this other shit. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. I'm still I'm not walking fast. I'm just slowly walking back and forth because it helps with breaking in the shoes and your feet get adjusted into it, and then my body might start softening a little bit. I mean, the goal is to make you paranoid, so they hire as many people as they can to do it. Right. Right. Thanks, Larry. No, I didn't live any real, not even one day of my life, because you could never, at a certain point, because you could never make a friend or make a, marry a woman or even attend a church without them ruining it. Right. So you never, it'll kill you if you keep trying to start your new life and then they kill it because you never get your ups. Right. Again, when you're in these religious societies, people don't have money and they're offering probably pretty large stuff. Right. But the 10,000 troops or whatever it is on the border area, I don't know how deep it's going to go. Like, what's their area of responsibility? That sounds like that's a good buffer zone. Right. 100%. I still like to see MRAPs and that kind of thing on the border. I just think it's the appropriate way to take care of people that are working on the border. But again, you might have enough intelligence where you know if something's coming, but it is what it is. But I couldn't wear my woolly socks, and it's warming up soon, so it doesn't matter. But my woolly socks were weird in these shoes. Maybe if I break them in, it'll be better. But I actually got something going on now. It feels pretty good. I ordered new inserts. I don't know if I should have. I guess to have a spare pair would be good too. Have. Just trying to see if I can get my body to relax before I lay down for bed. No, there's no doubt they drugged me. Right. How many times, I can't tell you. So they got to work on the psychology of the market. Obviously, it's doing some funky stuff. And the spies might be making them nervous. You might have, like, anti-Trump spies doing PSYOP everywhere. That's why it's important to find out where that is and where it's not. Right. They could be spooking everybody with just scary, like they're giving me, like, in my news feed and my social media feeds at time, it's just really harming posts. They know what they're doing to shift my psychology. So they could be doing that to everybody like it's in the market to shift their psychology into something. Again, I can fight it because I know it exists. Right. That's an evil world, man. That's why God's destroying it. 100%. I feel a lot better than I did during the last few months, but I'm still not, well, right? I have no idea how to get out of here. I'll tell you that. Hopefully somebody gives me money like they're supposed to. Right. Thank you, Larry. Now, I should have been paid years ago, but they know that if I get money, then it's a lot harder for them to do this to me. What they did all those years. And they go essentially to live in my life. The money I was supposed to be paid, they were paid. I'm going to have to start massages soon. Just wish I had a wife and she could actually learn massage, and it's just been an easier life. Thank you, Larry. They did what they wanted to do, and God will take care of it in the afterlife. Right. Wish I'd ordered some snacks from Amazon. I ordered those. I got like a case of, or six. It's a 6-pack case of 4 each ramen noodles and some miso soup bricks. But I feel like I needed something different. I don't know. I messed up the order. Didn't see good enough. Make sure this is locked over here. Let's see what it sounds like. That didn't sound like the round racked into the chamber. Glad I found my shoes again. Oh my God. Again, I should have never lost these shoes. I know for a fact that they did something so I couldn't find them. Bought them out. All right, I'm gonna. Yeah, shoes are breaking in pretty good now. And I took my wool socks off, put my regular cotton socks on, lower profile. Yeah, it's like I can tell there's a difference in my ankle tissues and things. So again, the hope is that I can keep it like this and get it massaged, and then at a certain point that it rebuilds a little bit. Stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.